Hey, I'm April with the Love and Loss Project. So I'm doing a Q&A video today. So a person sent me in a question and they asked about how do you deal with differences with your partner. They said that they're in a position right now where the partner have been fighting and in conflict because their partner wants to take down their lost little one's things. And they're feeling like it's really important to have those babies' belongings still up where they can see them on a regular basis. So the question is, how do you negotiate these kinds of things? So I want to thank you so much for sending this question in. And I have three questions that I want you to consider that I think are going to help you to get through this a little bit easier. But first, I want to tell you a story. So, little fact about me is that I love dark chocolate. I love it. And because I love it so much, I often assume that other people are going to enjoy it just as much as I do. And so it's often something that I include when I'm giving gifts to other people. But here's the thing, if someone else happens to really like dark chocolate too, my gift has now been the best gift ever, and they're thrilled to receive it. If that person doesn't like dark chocolate, or maybe they've just started a detox or a cleanse or a diet this week, my gift has now had the absolute opposite effect of what I wanted it to. And it's now possibly caused that person stress or disappointment or frustration. And I share this story with you because I think that this is one of the things that happens in our relationships with our partner all the time. Often when I work with couples and we look at some of the conflicts that they've been having, when we really kind of dissect it and start to get to the root of things, oftentimes what we discover is that each person had really good intentions and ways that they were trying to take care of the other person, or things that they were doing that they thought were trying to really protect the other person. But of course, that didn't line up so well. And those good intentions just kind of backfired. And now, two people that had lots of love and were trying to do really loving, kind things for each other now end up feeling more like they're adversaries rather than allies. So, I want you to check in. My first question is it possible that there's been some really good intentions that you and your partner are each doing to try to take care of each other that just aren't lining up real well? And I think that this is especially challenging because if your experience of going through grief has been anything like mine, it was often hard to even get really clear on where I was at or what I was needing or what I was feeling any given day. So when we look at the challenge of even just getting really kind of solid on our own feet and then trying to line that up, right? And that kind of wheel and spokes that line up with where our partner's at, that is really, really challenging some days. So ask yourself, is it possible that there are some really good intentions that are going sideways here? My second point is that I think that grief and our relationships can often function as a bit of a mirror. So maybe it's worthwhile to check in and to ask yourself, what is your fear here? What is your partner's fear? And what is that activating for you? So when you talk about that idea that I think my partner thinks that having these things up is going to actually upset me more, what is the fear that gets activated for you? And you're pretty clear, as we all are, because this is what comes easy to us. I can read my partner in a second, but it's much harder to do that with my own self. So it sounds like your partner's fear that you've identified is that having this stuff out is actually making you feel worse. But what is your fear? And so sometimes what happens when we go through stuff like this, it can start to feel like the world is just totally unsafe now. And we can start to function in a state where it feels like we have to have our back up and bracing for impact and more heartbreak all the time. So, is it possible that this fight is activating some of that reflex for you, where you're bracing for more destruction and more hurt, and therefore the fights are possibly getting even bigger and even more upsetting because it gets kind of coated with all kinds of new meaning? And when we think about your partner's fear that they're possibly expressing for you, how can you reassure them that you're taking care of that? And so if their fear is that you're going to get pulled too far into the darkness, maybe it's worthwhile to think about how can you reassure your partner that you really are working on returning to life again after this, that you really are committed to being in their life and present and healing from this, whatever that means for you. And recognize the opportunity. So my last point here is to really take note of this kind of tug of war that started to happen between you and your partner, and step back and look at it as a need and a spotlight that's being shined on this need to have possibly a more open, gentle, authentic, conscious conversation on what is our family's plan for coping with the loss of our little one and for maintaining space for them in our house, in our home, in our history, in our lives. And I don't think that there's a right or wrong here, but I think that we do really need to make this explicit with our partners. So for some people, that becomes something that is just shared between the two of them, and that kind of becomes their own private history. For other people, it's really important that the baby's memory is preserved and is maintained. And it's maintained in ways like having the pictures up, or having the baby's name up somewhere, or tattoos, or ornaments on the tree that also include them literally in the family tree and the family history. And if we're not getting really explicit about kind of what our plan and what our hope is, then it's possible that we're each working two different systems, and we're kind of engaging in this tug of war kind of fight for whose system is actually going to win over today. So I would say spend some time together, reach for each other during this time, and move back to this position of getting to be best friends again by talking about what is our strategy. And know that this is going to need to be revised as needed. So nothing's carved in stone here, but maybe it's time for an honest, gentle conversation. Where are you at right now? What do you need? And make these things really explicit, because I think so often, especially with our partners, we tend to kind of assume that we're being more understood or that we're being more clear than we actually are. So you are your lost little one's mom. So claim that role, talk about them, have open, honest conversations about what you need and what you want for your little one's memory, and own your role as the guardian of them, and help your partner possibly to understand more about where you're coming from and what you need from them, and reassure them that you really are committed to getting through this together. So that's my thoughts for you for today. I hope that helped. If you found this video useful, then please share it with your friends. I'd appreciate that and help break the silence around baby loss. And if you want more tips, tools, and strategies, then check out my YouTube channel and my site at lovelostproject.com. You can always connect with me there. All right, thanks. And I hope that helped. I'll see you next time. Bye.